The release of the game by From Software is always an event. Despite occasions of conveyor belt, Hidetaka Miyazaki project managed to attract a huge number of fans time after time. But even against the backdrop of the studio's previous success, Elden Ring is especially eagerly awaited. In early February, Bandai Namco let the press play the full version of Elden Ring. I spent 6 hours playing it, and I was convinced that I was the studio's main and most thoughtful work in the Soul Slayer arena. I will try to explain why. The global change that concern all aspects of Elden Ring compared to the other games of the series is Ubisoft's clarity and constant after Dark Souls. First of all, this is noticeable in the story. In Sekiro, the studio has already tried itself in a more traditional narrative, and in Elden Ring they have developed something in between the Sekiro and Demon's Souls approaches. Each location has characters ready to share detail about important events in the game's world, and the levels themselves at times hit the narrative through the environment. For example, Elden Ring has a magic academy that closes its doors to new students after the death of the local ruler and the splitting of that very ring. Not far from the academy, you can meet a student who once got out of it and just didn't make it back before it closed for good. On the way to the building, however, you can see mages defending themselves against the local king's knights. There are a lot less allergical and mystery in the game than in the same Dark Souls. If in the first part of Dark Souls you had to ring a bell, which was shown only by the spectacular camel flyby in the starting cutscene, in Elden Ring it is always obvious where you have to go by the plot. As the key fires, the player character sees magic lines that indicate the direction to the next important point, in the manner of the wind of the Ghost of Tsushima, and displayed on the map. And in general, in each biome you can quickly find a detailed map of the area. There won't be any quick movement points and danger markups on the map, but it will help you understand the landscape. The popular comparison between Elden Ring and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is not quite correct. After all, in Zelda you can go anywhere from the first minute, and its play space is packed with system mechanics. Elden Ring, on the other hand, is more like Gothic. At the very beginning of any Piranha Bytes games, the protagonist was almost nothing to opposite to the outside world, so before you rush into battle, you have to learn the features of the factions, to get some money and good equipment. Until then, skirmishes with strong opponents and badly. Elden Ring works in a similar way. At first, the first boss in the story seems to be irresistible, although neither in its mousetrap nor in the damage from his attack was anything specified by the standard of From Software, but is worth spending a couple of hours to explore the world, find a good sword and powerful spells, and the big guy was beaten in just a few minutes. And so with every challenge in the game, of course, with a try you can defeat any opponent regardless of equipment, and for sure there will be people who on the day of release will pass the game on their fist without any death. But with the standard approach to passing Elden Ring, encourage you to build your own story from battles of increasing difficulty. With this approach, you don't have to put up with unpleasant location. Each player can find a terrain that is interesting to him and return to involved areas later. For example, the first story castle is very much reminiscent of Dark Souls both by architecture and enemies, but if you want, you can skip away to more colorful biomes in the spirit of Sekiro. Exploring of Elden Rings has also reached a new level. You have to explore every ruin and every cave of those that are generally scattered on the map. You can never know what awaits you here. In the basement in the middle of the camp can be a lonely chest, and in dungeon it's easy to stumble on a full-fledged boss. Sometimes in the open world there are spirits that can lead the player to a new cave or a treasure. Several mechanics have approached in Elden Rings that haven't been seen before in the series, and the impressions are mixed. The first of these is the OG board torrent as the full-fledged means of transportation through the open world and assistant in combat. With the first application is simple and straightforward. At the very beginning of the game you can, for example, bypass the entire map, ignoring the enemies and open a dozen or so points to quickly move. But in battle the torrent is not always useful. Foot enemies and gains pose almost no danger the player when he is on horseback. But first, in battle with them, you cannot always call him because many skirmishes take place in the dungeons, blocking torrent. And secondly, battles with opponents who also have a horse turn into a chase in the spirit of comedy shows. I had another unpleasant situation with Torrent during a battle with a very simple boss on a horse. On the gamepad, the horse is controlled by moving the left stick, but responds by clicking on it. Due to nerves, I died 5 times. At the crucial moments, I suddenly fell off the horse and found myself under the boss just before the powerful blow. Another new mechanic, crafting, which for 6 hours of the game I could not understand at all. From the items found in the open world, you can collect a variety of consumables like temporary bonuses and bombs with throwing knives. During the allotted time, I just did not want an opponent in combat with which I would have needed anything from the crafting menu, unless the spyglass was useful, but it's unclear why all these items couldn't be dumped into some merchant's bag. But the magic left a definitely positive impression. In the time I spent in Elden Ring, I used it in various forms more often than in all the From Software games and Soul-player games in general. Spells come in 2 forms, as far ashes abilities that can be assigned to any weapons or shields, and as traditional magic in the form of magic sword or summon. Ashes and summons have to be used quite often, and they can be found in the open world all the time. The game seems to force you to call for help, so Elden Ring may seem easier than other Soul-Slayer games, but the mechanics can be brazenly abused. For example, in the battles with the first boss of the story, Oja, was very useful for me, but the next opponent got rid of it in just a couple of attacks. Also, the AI of the summoned is sometimes stupid and can even accidentally block the player's passage, which will cost him his life. Pebbles of War, on other hand, range from something seemingly unnecessary to decide combat ability. I got a few pebbles that are supposed to knock enemies down with air currents, but I couldn't find anything better for this task than a simple parry. By the way, parrying also counts as an assigned ability here, but the lightning strike and the cumulative negative attack came in handy. But even with the not powerful ashes, it's fun to experiment to see how different enemies react to them. After Elden Ring, you realize that within a pseudo-open Metroidvanic world, games with similar mechanics are truly cramped. The new From Software work turned out as if such as Soul-Slayer should have always been, so naturally the familiar features of such games were built into the huge universe world. Thank you for watching.